Think about it. Think about it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to High School Basketball Weekly. Tim Murray alongside of John Franzoni. And John, it's hard to believe we talked about it just moments ago that the high school basketball season has come to a close once again.
Yeah, it always goes by quickly. It was another fun season, and it's amazing how year after year this basketball season, for a long season, it goes by very quickly.
Well, John, we've got two great games to report on this week. The championship Saturday at the Tsongas Arena out in Lowell. Hoosick Valley boys and girls played for their respective Division V state championships, and two big games that we want to report on. First, we're going to talk about the boys who played New Mission. Hoosick, the 1 seed, New Mission, the 2 seed. So the 1 and 2s in Division V battled it out. And unfortunately for Hoosick Valley, they came up on the short end of this game. They lost at 57-49. The score does not reflect how close this ball game was. Both teams went on runs. This game was a 2-point game with New Mission up by 2 going to the last minute of action. A couple of turnovers and some baskets by New Mission, and they came away with the Division V state victory for Hoosick Valley. This has been their fourth trip to the state championship game under Coach Robinson. He has to be disappointed, I'm sure, as is the team. They were right in this game from beginning to end, and they held leads of up to 7 points in this game.
Yeah, had the lead at halftime, really competed well against obviously a strong opponent in the state final. I think, like you said, the New Mission team just made the last run. It was a back and forth game throughout the second half. Hoosick held leads, throughout the third quarter into the fourth, and just at the end, it was a defensive struggle. I know it seemed like every possession was contested. Both teams played really good defense. And that's what you see. You're going to see 1 versus 2 in the final here. You're going to see a great matchup, and New Mission just made the final run, and that's what basketball is sometimes, a game of runs, and who makes the decisive one at the right time, and New Mission did that.
Stepping up for Hoosick Valley in this one, as he's done all year long, with senior Frank Field, the 1,000-point scorer for Hoosick Valley. And you look at his line here, he had 15 points in this championship loss to New Mission, but it doesn't really begin to tell the impact he had on this game. He was battling under the boards against a bigger squad. He also, at times, handled the ball at the point for them because New Mission was providing a lot of pressure to Hoosick Valley, so he had to run and set up the offense on a lot of occasions, and he left it all out on the court, that is for sure.
Yeah, as a senior, he certainly played well every game this season. He was really the driving force, along with Joey McGovern, as the 2,000-point seniors on the team. Obviously, New Mission did a really good job on McGovern, limiting his points in this game. Quinell Bradley stepped up and scored 13 with 10 rebounds. Hoosick all year has been just a strong, solid team that puts 5 scorers and strong players on the court, and they just met, I think, a team that sounds like they were very similar to them. Played great defense, New Mission did. They really got after them in full court, it sounded like, and there's no regret in losing to a team like that. But of course, right. You step on the court, you want to win. And Coach Robinson, he mentioned that this was their closest state final battle. But just to be in 4 state finals is very impressive over the years of Coach Robinson's teams, and they always compete, always play hard, and always play great defense. And they were battling right to the end in this game, as they always do. And the good news for this team as well, I would say, is that you're getting a great contribution from an 8th grader and Trevor Moynihan, and they got a solid sophomore group with Bradley and Wicks and Hake. So the future is still very bright for this team, but just what a great season they put together. Until this point, only losing to Monument Mountain, who is obviously one of the best teams in the state as well.
Right, absolutely correct. And you talk about Quinell Bradley, the sophomore for Hoosick Valley. He had a big game in this championship game. He finished with 13 points and 10 rebounds, and he was battling all game underneath the basket. And I know we've got him up there as a senior, but he's only a sophomore, so he's going to be around for a couple more years. So as you indicated, The future is bright for Hoosick Valley. Especially, they also got contributions from 8th grader Trevor Moynihan, who played a lot in this ball game. He finished with 9 points. The difference, I think, in this one was, and I think Coach Robinson would agree, the Hoosick Valley did not shoot the ball well from the perimeter. They were 1 for 19 from beyond the three-point line, and you just can't get it done shooting like that.
Right.
At any level.
Yeah, I mean, the New Mission obviously did a great job defensively. I mean, how many times has Hoosick been held under 50 points this season?
Right.
It's been a very successful year for them, and one of the things that they did very well was always putting multiple players on the court that could finish. And they were more of this modern type of playing basketball, right? When you have Frank Field and Cornell Bradley being your forwards, when both of them are very athletic, not necessarily post players, they can play all over the court. And they're tough to guard, and that's something that was really in their favor all season. And this game looks like it got to be like a lot of tournament games are. They kind of grind into defensive battle, and that's where Hoosick is also strong on that end of the court. But they just ran into a team that kind of played their similar game, and again, it's a tremendous day for a school that. I was amazed by reading one of the preview articles saying that Hoosick Valley has 192 students from grades 9 through 12. Right. So to have 2 teams in the state finals for basketball, I mean, that's just, I can't get over just how impressive that is for a school of that size to have both of their boys and girls teams competing for a state final against these larger schools from Boston. So hats off to Coach Robinson and his team for a great season.
And John, when you consider the fact, I know you talked about it last week a little bit, but you consider not only Hoosick Valley, but we had down in the final 8 teams in Division 5, you had Drury was in that mix along with Mahar and Pioneer. So you had strong representation in Division 5 boys in from Western Massachusetts.
Yeah, with those 3 teams, I mean, they're all in the same league with Pioneer and Mahar and Drury. So I mean, really, as much as sometimes I haven't over the years been very much in favor of this state tournament, I think one place where they've done a good job is really with Division 5, having some good representation from Western Massachusetts and Berkshire County, and it seems like it's as opposed to the old days. I mean, my team used to compete in Division 2, and then the last year in Division 3.
Right.
You were playing against teams that were schools that were significantly bigger than you, especially when you got to the next level. And this seems like it creates a more level playing ground for our schools locally, and that's a good thing, because at least in these tournaments now, we're playing against the Berkshire school. Let's just say we're playing against teams and schools of similar size to us, and it's a more level playing field than it was in the past.
Right, I agree with that. That's one thing the MIA has done well here, is with the 5 divisions, the parity in terms of school size has produced a much more equitable situation. We could talk about how they've organized that, and maybe there ought to be fewer teams in the tournament to produce better games, so to speak, and less for lack of a better word, blowouts in the early rounds. They did it right, as the top 2 seeds in Division 5 ended up facing each other on the boys' side. So once again, hats off to New Mission for their state championship in Division 5, and of course our congratulations to Hoosick Valley and all the teams that competed in the Division 5 boys state tournament. It's been a great year for them, and like you said, especially Hoosick Valley. I would also put in that book, John, the Drury Blue Devils. They have a young squad, as they're only losing 1 senior. So I know Coach Jack Rossette's got to be looking forward to next season and his squad. He's got a lot to look forward to.
Right, I think it's a theme across the boys team. There's some young talent coming back, especially in these Northern Berkshire teams with McCann, Drury, and Greylock playing some young players along with Hoosick. So it's I know it's a long ways right now, but we talked about it a little bit last week. Now is the time to go out and get better. Season's over, you take a little break, but basketball is not a season. It's not a 3-month season. You have to play and get better. And the good thing about this sport is you can go out with a ball in your driveway on the playground and you get better just putting the time in. And I know that was one of the things I liked. There was a quote from the 8th grader from Trevor Moynihan saying, we want to get back here. We're motivated to come back better next year and stronger. And be able to compete against these teams, and we know what we need to do to get there. Pretty mature quotes, I thought, from an 8th grader talking about the work they have to do in the offseason to get better.
Right. So turning our attention to the girls' Division V Western Mass the state championship, a different result entirely, as the Hoosick Valley Hurricane girls came away with the state championship victory over West Boylston, 71-53 in the Division V state final. And this score doesn't belie the fact of how this particular game started, John, for Hoosick Valley, as West Boylston came out with all kinds of confidence right out of the gate in the first quarter. And midway through the second quarter of this game, they had a 13-point lead over Hoosick Valley before Hoosick Valley kicked it into high gear, and from then on out really controlled the action. They cut that 13-point lead down to, I think it was 1 or 2 points at halftime, and then in the third quarter they went on a huge run, 22-6, to bolt ahead of West Boylston, and continued that in the fourth quarter, and they came away with the victory and their third state championship in the last 11 years at Hoosick Valley. So congratulations to Coach Frederick and the Lady Hurricanes. But this one, we talked about this a little also off air. He got the big effort from his seniors in this one, John.
Right. I mean, in the first half, like you mentioned, being down by 13 points, that's a good sign of a veteran team. 4 seniors, 3 juniors, all playing some significant minutes there. They didn't panic. We've seen Hoosick all year in the games that we've covered make some monster runs to extend leads or to put games away. And in this case, they needed that huge run to get the lead back. And they, from being down 13 to coming back to make it a 1-point game by the half, just shows how what the things that Hoosick does effectively. They all play great defense. They can play in a half court and a full court, and then they also turn that defense into offense by having 5 players on the court that can fill it up, drive into the basket, moving the basketball. They're very unselfish, and they can all shoot the 3, and they're not bashful to shoot it up either. And those lead to some of these types of runs that this team has gone on all season. And I know Coach had talked about playing the 32 minutes. Well, they played the key minutes when they had to in this game to get back in the game and show that they were the best team in the state.
Yeah, they did, and they got their big efforts out of their seniors. We're going to start first with Taylor Garabedian. The senior in her final high school game finished with 22 points and 7 rebounds versus West Boylston. She really asserted herself in that first half. She had 17 points in the first half. She's a lot to handle as a young lady. She's very strong. And she's pretty agile. Yeah,
she does it all. I mean, she really handles the ball well. She shoots a 3. She's strong inside. We talked about, Quinnell Bradley on the boys' side. She's kind of the female version of him because she plays bigger than her size. I mean, she's just very active on the boards on both ends of the court. And, when you get in a situation in a tournament when things aren't going your way, like they obviously weren't for Hoosick in the first quarter and a half or so of this game, you rely on your veterans to step up. And this is where she was huge in this game, scoring 17 points in the first half to help them, get that double-digit deficit down to 1 by halftime and putting them in position to make another run in the second half to put this game away and win a Division V state title.
And as big a first half as she had, Abby Slaba, the senior, had a huge second half for Hoosick Valley. She finished with 16 points. She had 1 3-pointer, and she had numerous slashes to the basket. She had a huge game for Hoosick Valley. And to what you have talked to about Hoosick Valley, Jen, they're a hard team to defend because they have so many people on the floor this year who are able to score the basketball and contribute offensively. You never know who's going to step up.
Yeah, they're a versatile team. I mean, they have the 3 players that average double digits in Garabedian, LeSure, and Meswar, but then you have players like Abby Schlaba and Hannah Shea and Haley McNeese and Marion Carpinello who come off the bench and play big minutes for them. But Abby Schlaba, I thought, was some great coaching by Coach Frederick, telling her to go to the basket. They're double teaming onto Garrett beating, obviously, because she had such a great first half. So they took advantage of what the defense gave them. And, that's what basketball is. It's a game of adjustments. You come out and you have your game plan, and the other team takes some things away from you. So what do you do to adjust and make them pay for, putting two players guarding a player that had 17 points in the first half? You tell your other players to attack into areas that are open. And Abby Shalaba obviously did a great job listening to what her coach told her to do, and took the game over partially in the second half by scoring 16 points to lead them to a win. Especially Emma Meswar had some foul trouble in this game.
Yes.
Ashlyn LaSure is always there, her contributions, and but the Abby Shalaba really was a key in this game to help Hoosick Valley earn the win.
And speaking of Ashlyn LaSure, her scoring line in this game was pretty impressive. The junior guard had 16 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists in the state title game, and it's pretty consistent what she does all year long for Hoosick Valley. Jen, we talked about it a little bit over the course of the year. She runs that offense. She plays pretty solid defense. She's smart basketball player.
Right. Yeah, she's relentless on both ends of the court. She does a great job of keying their defense, but also of attacking in transition and setting her teammates and just running their offense through. And you're right, she just does all the little things that good teams need to win basketball games, because she's not one-dimensional. She can do it in a variety of ways, moving out the ball, attacking the basket, and also dropping a big three when they need it. And when they go to their full court pressure, she's right up there with her hands on the ball and making it life difficult for the guards on the other team. So you talk about the 4 seniors on this team, but when you have players like LaSure, Meswar coming back next year, and this season is what we're talking about now in their state championship, but certainly they're going to be coming back strong next year as well.
Yeah, they've got a pretty good nucleus, and you're looking at it. 5 people in this game made 3-pointers for Hoosick Valley. Meswar, LaSure, the senior Haley McNeese off the bench, Shalaba, and Marion Capiello Jr. She'll be back next year. Marion Capiello, she was one of the first couple of players off the bench for Coach Frederick's Hoosick Valley Hurricanes. So they'll be back next year. And when you've got that nucleus coming back, you've got a pretty good start for a solid team for next year.
Yeah, it was impressive to read some of the comments by the Hoosick players about their program, and then Coach Frederick had some comments as well about what their program's about, and how the kids feel about being able to play in this program. And that's it shows this year that they work all year round to get better. I mean, Emma Meswar made a huge jump this year. That sophomore to junior season is always a time when you see players traditionally that put the work in make that improvement. And now there's opportunities for some younger players to have similar jumps next year. And you got to really praise their senior group of Garrett Beating and Shea, Capiello. I'm sorry, not Capiello, McNeese and Shalaba. Right. So it really 4 veteran players that played extremely well and did so much for this program over their time with Hoosick, and they've set a good example, as their past teams have done, for what the expectations are. And Coach Frederick has obviously done a terrific job during his first couple of years running this program. So once again, it's a tremendous win for a small school winning a state championship, and I'm sure it's something that they really enjoyed, and they almost had 2. I mean, that was the thing that was really impressive about this run, is it's hard enough to win 1 championship for any size school, and especially a small school, but to almost have 2 championship teams in a single town is very impressive for the Hoosick Hurricanes.
And again, focusing again on Western Mass in general, John, both in Division 4 and Division 5, because the schools in Western Mass are smaller. Great representation both in the Division 5 tournament. You had Hoosick Valley there. You had Palmer, which got knocked out in the Final Four. It could have been an all-Western Mass.
Right.
It could have been an all-Western Mass final in Division 5. South Hadley, who Jury and Hoosick have tangled with over the years, played in the finals of Division 4. They got beat. But it really speaks, again, to the quality, I think, of the basketball out in Western Mass, both on the boys and girls side. And when our schools are paired similarly sized schools, they compete and compete well.
Definitely. I mean, you can see how well the girls did in this state tournament. I mean, West Boylston beat Palmer on a buzzer beater.
Right.
Otherwise, it could have been, like you said, the all-Western Mass final. And when you go back to the traditional old way Western Mass was, I mean, those teams were all in the same division: Palmer,
Right.
South Hadley, Drury, Hoosick,
Right.
Wacona. Those were some obviously some huge. You didn't ever see any mismatches during those days,
Right.
but certainly, I mean, when you get down to the Final Four and Final Eight, that's where you really see the nitty-gritty of the really good, solid teams you're playing against, and especially in the girls. Early rounds, there wasn't quite as much of the competition that you saw maybe in the boys a little bit, but
Right.
as you got down to the top 8 teams or so, that's when really the game started to get very competitive. And I mean, going back to Hoosick again, I mean, they beat a very good Renaissance team in the semifinals,
Right.
Undefeated Renaissance team, another Western Mass team out of Springfield.
That's
so,
right.
So
That's
really
right.
the quality of basketball in this part of the state for the boys and the girls have shown itself to be worthy of state competition.
Right, and now that you've got the 5 divisions, back when you were coaching, as you alluded to, playing in Division Two, because the schools were similarly sized, even though at that time Drury was not a big school. When you coached both boys and girls, and neither was Hoosick Valley, you played some awful tough competition
Right.
in those Western Mass tournaments.
Yeah, I forget who I saw the Hoosick boys play against back I think it's Millis or something. They had like a huge following of I went out watched them play in the state finals, and I mean it was very striking in the size of the school that
Right.
Hoosick had to play when they got past the Western Mass
Right.
finals to play in the state final at that point of a Division II matchup, because it was such a lopsided in terms of the numbers. I mean,
Right.
Hoosick competed and did like they always did, but this state tournament seems to be, I saw some kinks to work out, but it certainly is providing our schools in Western Mass with a good opportunity, especially I think in Divisions 3, 4, and 5 to really compete. We had the Pittsfield schools getting to the Final Four in the boys Division 3 with Pittsfield and Taconic playing, and we still. Miss those old Berkshire County League days, but
Right.
it was good to see the teams playing each other more in the regular season this year. And as we know, I mean, we've talked about it for many years, those Berkshire matchups really prepare our teams for
wow.
success in the tournament, because every night is a battle. You're playing against a good team, a well-coached team, a team that can put 5 good players on the court all throughout 32 minutes. And that's one thing I noticed some of the early round games was you had some teams from the other side of the state that had good records, but they didn't have 5 solid players. They had 2, 3 maybe. I think that was where it was a real big advantage for the teams that went farther in the tournament, the Hoosick teams and Drury and the Pittsfield teams, Monument, was they always put 5 strong players on the court, including their bench. And basketball is a game where you have to have some substitutes and some stamina to play 32 minutes of tough, solid basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really where I think the Berkshire team stood out, and obviously led by the Hoosick teams, had great success in the tournament.
Yes, and on that note, I can remember coaches, especially in girls back in the day when you were coaching, and up through now, from the Valley in Western Massachusetts, they would want to schedule independent games against Berkshire County teams because they knew the Berkshire County teams were physical, they were aggressive, they were well coached and well skilled, and they used those games to prepare their teams for tournament play. So it's really a credit to the coaching and to the players of the Berkshire County schools over the years that have elevated basketball, high school basketball.
And I think we saw it too. We saw it too with the tournament games we called over at Hoosick with they matched up with Ware, I think, and Munson in the Western Mass, and you could just see a different style of play. Even though those teams got down, they were just so used to playing a zone or a half-court defense, they couldn't come back against the Hoosick teams because Hoosick had 5 players that could handle the basketball, could handle pressure, could continue to pressure them, and they could play different styles of game. I remember the boys playing against that Munson team that just wanted to go,
Right.
and it was a close game at the half, but adjustments at halftime by Coach Robinson to kind of grind that into a half-court game, and next thing you know, it was a 20-point game. So,
Right.
and that's the thing about being successful as I think basketball as well, is you have to be versatile, and I think that's what both of the Hoosick teams showed this year, was that they could change up their style to take advantage of what the other team was allowing them to do, or where the holes were that they could plug their players in. And I think that's, coaching really makes a difference. And that's something that we can see, especially with these two Hoosick teams and some of the other Berkshire teams that did well this year with, Coach Coldis down at Monument, who's a veteran coach, Coach Heafy at Takana, Coach Reset at Drury. You have some real strong, like you mentioned, these veteran coaches. And it's good to play those tough games in the regular season, because even if you lose a couple, they make you a better team. That better competition, is only going to make your team stronger and better, and they're going to benefit from, playing against those teams that challenge you, because that shows a little bit of your character. I mean, look at the Hoosick girls, down double digits in the first half. No panic there. Let's just make a few adjustments and go on a run.
Right. Well, John, as we close out the high school basketball season, our final broadcast here of High School Basketball Weekly, we want to congratulate all the teams and all the coaches for an outstanding year of high school basketball. I want to also personally thank Rick Bua for all the work he puts in here, both in the regular season games and High School Basketball Weekly. Of course, John here has filled in for us both here and on our broadcasts. His insights are fantastic. He is born to do this, that's for sure. And we want to thank our production crew, Dave Fabiano and Peter Gentile, who do really all the behind the camera scenes, behind the camera work here at High School Basketball Weekly. We wouldn't really be able to do it without them. Following our broadcast here tonight, of course, we have our final high school game of the week. It's our Hoosick Valley Girls Elite 8 game that you can watch right here that we broadcast a week and a half or so ago. But for everybody, we want to say thank you once again for a great year in High School Basketball Weekly, and we look forward to seeing you next year.